When it comes to hardware, things are kind of sucky right now. Come on, don't deny it. The current price for some 2019 or 2020 laptop lines, for example, skyrocketed. And now you are stuck between buying an overpriced model or waiting for the chip crisis to end. And waiting is out of question. Hard times create tough men, so people can do nothing but buy their much sought devices. Nevertheless, even in these dire times, one can find affordable stuff if one knows where to look. And because of that, I want to share something with you guys. Huawei just released 2 new laptop models, and once I got the chance to mess with them, I was impressed. Not only are they more flexible and adaptable than Huawei's traditional smartphone inclinations, but they also incorporate the producer's own super interesting ecosystem. The models are Huawei D14 2021, a slight refresh of the popular D14, which to me is nothing less than a Best Buy, and D15, its bigger brother, featuring a 15.6-inch screen and an 11th gen Intel processor we talked about not too long ago, although this is the mobile version. So are these two models any good? Could one of these be the right stuff you've been looking for? Let's find out. Aside from the screen size difference, 14-inch versus 15.6, the two laptops seem to be identical. For now, both models include a chassis made almost entirely of aluminum, which is good. There's metal on the lid, on the button, on the wrist pad, and also around the keyboard. Basically, the only things that are made of plastics are the 0.5 cm thin upper and lateral edges, followed by the roughly 1.5 cm lower edge. As you might have guessed, in order to get such thin bezels, Huawei had to sacrifice the webcam. Well, they didn't actually kill it, they just moved it under the F6 bis key, similar to the previous models. I must admit it's a bold move and an interesting and subtle approach, but it can be extremely counterintuitive, meaning you will have to place something under the laptop during the video conferences in order to avoid that awkward 60+ years old senior posting Facebook selfies angle. I really miss the traditional webcam placement, and the slightly thicker edge wouldn't have killed anyone. The panel is very flexible, offering generous angles of 180 degrees for the Matebook D14 and 150 for Matebook D15. In terms of chassis size, both models are surprisingly thin, while a detailed measurement indicates 15.9 mm for D14 and 16.9 for D15. It's a bit odd considering that, theoretically speaking, a bigger chassis offers a slimmer case. On top of that, D15 includes a relatively weaker battery, 3 cells for a total of 42 Wh compared to D14's 4 cells for a total 56 Wh. Ironic, taking these things into account, the weight is somehow similar, 1.38 kilos for D14 versus 156 for D15. In terms of pricing, the Junior is more expensive than its bigger brother. Both models features Intel i5 CPU, 16GB of RAM and 512GB of SSD storage, but the D14 is more expensive. The reason? The battery. One of the most important aspects when it comes to laptops designed for work or school, and such is the case for the Matebook D14 and D15. Both models seem identical, having a short to medium keystroke. The keyboards themselves have the same size, despite the width difference between the laptops. D14 32.2 cm versus D15 35.5. But there's a problem. What's the reason behind D15 not having LED keyboard? Also, the keyboard feel is different. In the case of Matebook D15, the keys have more of a solid matte touch, while D14 has softer and shinier keys. On top of that, the latter model enjoys a quieter keyboard build, blessed with 3 lighting levels, with no backlight leakage. Very nice, D14 wins this round. The touchpad, on the other hand, offers D15 the lead. Both models have a 12 cm wide touchpad, but the big brother took the liberty in offering an extra centimeter of height. It has a nice feel, you can double click on it, it's smooth and very easy to click on. The power button kept the previous fingerprint power button feature, meaning the fingerprint scanner is incorporated in the power button and allows for quick and safe logins. As expected, we encountered similarities. Simply put, the difference lies only in an extra USB port for Matebook D15. Matebook D14 has a USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A, a USB 2.0 Type A, a USB Type C, an HDMI port, and a 3.5mm combo audio jack. Check them side by side, nearly identical with the freshly implemented Wi-Fi 6 technology. Matebook D14 2021 features an Intel Core i5-10210U quad-core with 8 threads, 1.65 GHz base clock and a big 4.2 GHz single-core boost. It's a wise choice for an ultra-portable. It's not too hot, has a TDP of 15 watt, which can be also set for 25. And it does a nice job when running relevant apps such as Office, browsers, etc. Matebook D15 has a stronger CPU, Intel Core i5-1135G7 quad-core with 900 MHz up to 24 GHz base clock and a single-core boost of 4.2 GHz, which is also indicated by its 25 watt TDP, and an improved architecture compared to the 10th generations. Both laptops include 16 GB of onboard RAM, a 512 GB SSD, and with that said, let's see the test results. PC Mark 10 for Matebook D14. Standard test 4238. Extended test 2896. PC Mark 10 for Matebook D15, standard 4665, extended 4044. All in all, really impressive scores when it comes to a line of Office laptops, and the configurations strike a balance between performance and the expectations risen by the aforementioned niche. The temperatures are more than decent, considering the fact that the laptops are unexpectedly silent. While running Geekbench, D14 scored 3705 points, while D15 scored 4,792 points. As of Cinebench R15, the results are as follows: 487 for D14 and 517 for D15. For the sake of completeness, here are the Cinebench R23 results as well. D14 3,573 and D15 4,954. The chassis and the keyboard remained surprisingly cool, so rest assured. When it comes to screens, how should I put this? Well, it's a bit of a letdown. Although Huawei keep boasting about their 100% sRGB screens, these two laptops here do not exceed 65% sRGB and 45% NTSC, and these are modest values, suitable for this price range. Both screens have a 16:9 aspect ratio and Full HD resolutions. The panels are manufactured by BOE with IPS technology. They don't feature a whooping brightness level, but they suffice for indoor work. D14 has a bit more brightness, with a maximum of 300 nits compared to its siblings 283. The contrasts are really good, about 1260 to 1 with a nice black level. After thorough measurements, I can only say this: the panels are perfect for work from home and online school scenarios, but fail at delivering an optimal photo editing environment. As I was saying earlier, Matebook D14 sports a rather big battery for such a small and slim chassis, 56 Wh, whereas Matebook D15 includes a 42 Wh battery. What does this mean? It means this: D15 with a generous screen runs for 7 hours and 30 minutes during the modern Office test and 6 hours and 10 minutes during video, playing HD clips in loop. On the other hand, D14 smashed the endurance test. As expected, this model retains its previous version's toughness, with over 10 to 11 hours of autonomy. And what's more, an exact and amazing 12 hours and 11 minutes during modern Office. The tests were ran with the brightness level set to 147 nits for D14 and 157 nits for D15, so basically the default levels. D14 has a power saver mode, which comes in handy, while D15 only offers a balanced preset as the most powerful battery saver. Aside from that, the Matebook line has that amazing ecosystem. Kudos to Huawei Share. The technology applies to charging as well. So we have a 65 watt charger, which is compatible with Type-C, meaning it can also be used with a smartphone, and that's great. To sum up, there is not exactly a perfect balance between price and performance when it comes to D14 and D15. But if we're strictly talking about 16 GB RAM laptops focused on autonomy and practicality, these two Huawei models are too good for this category to be overlooked. On top of that, they run on Windows out of the box, so if you happen to own a Huawei smartphone or tablet as well, make sure they are compatible with multi-screen collaboration and get yourselves a Matebook D. You'll know you've made a good choice once you get to see how intuitive, easy, fluid, natural and successfully implemented Huawei's ecosystem can be. So these were Matebook D14 and D15, and that was it for today. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe.